All right, good morning and welcome to today's webinar. Before we begin, I would like to remind everyone to please stay muted and that this presentation will be recorded. Any questions that you have throughout the webinar can be sent in the chat, and I will be happy to relay them to our guests. I want to thank everyone for joining us today, especially our guests. Today joining us is Brad Currie with SBA. Brad is a U.S. Army Reserve retiree. After leaving active duty service in Germany, in 2011, Brad moved back to his home state of Colorado, where he worked for the VA Medical Center in Denver. Then started working for the U.S. Small Business Administration in 2013 and completed his bachelor's in business management. Brad moved to Maine in 2017 and became the senior area manager covering Southern Maine. Our next guest is Mike Vlacich. Did I get that? The SBA New England Regional Administrator. Mike oversees SBA programs, offices, and operations in the SBA's New England region, serving all of Connecticut, Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and Vermont. He is a respected public servant with extensive economic development, policy, and service experience at the nonprofit, state, and federal government levels. And then last but not least, we have LaKosha Evans. LaKosha is the owner of Klassically Kute Designs Kids Clothing and Accessories boutique in Biddeford, Maine. They provide access to great private brand clothing for kids and outstanding customer service. She is also a military spouse of 19 years with 4 amazing children. After moving around and starting and quitting of many jobs, she finally decided it was time to start her own business, and Klassically Kute is the result. With that, I'm going to go ahead and open the floor to Brad for further introduction for Mike.
Excellent. Thank you, Danielle. I'd like to welcome Mike Vlacich. He is our New England Regional Administrator, and I've had the pleasure of working with Mike for the last about a year, I think. I think that's about as long as he's been on now. Mike, if you would, please take over.
Great. Thank you very much. And it is my pleasure. I'm very grateful to have been appointed to this role by President Biden and Vice President Harris just over a year ago, and very pleased that we are continuing to focus on Black-owned businesses throughout our year. Thanks to their leadership, we did proclaim Black History Month, and I'm happy to be here today in celebration of Black History Month. It's an honor to recognize the achievements of Black-owned small businesses across Maine and to celebrate the strength and resiliency of this community. The contributions Black-owned businesses and Black business owners have made to entrepreneurship in the U.S. are indispensable. According to the most recent data from the U.S. Census Bureau, there are over 3 billion Black-owned businesses from coast to coast, accounting for billions of dollars in annual revenue to the U.S. economy. That's about 1,700 here in Maine and 76,000 across New England, the region that I represent. For decades, and I don't need to tell many on this call, in the face of underinvestment, discrimination, and systemic prejudice, many Black entrepreneurs have had to forge their own paths to achieve the American dream. At the SBA, under the leadership of President Biden and Vice President Harris and guidance of our state leaders, we remain committed to breaking down barriers to accessing capital, networks, and markets, and to bringing new investments and resources to Black communities across this nation. The pandemic was especially challenging for America's small businesses. We all know this. But that's particularly true for businesses in underserved populations that face unique challenges even in the best of times. The SBA recognizes that Black entrepreneurs face socioeconomic and capital funding obstacles when starting and expanding a business. It is the SBA's role to help individuals overcome these inherent challenges and succeed. Events like this one today are one of the things we can do to help overcome. Reaching out in our communities, showing what resources are available, and through messengers like LaKosha, who we're going to hear from later, showing what is possible. There's no better validator than the businesses and the business people that work with our services. The SBA has been at the forefront of America's pandemic recovery effort. I'm proud to be part of this agency that's been equitably delivering economic relief to small businesses across Main Street, along Main Streets. And it's important to note that we are in a small business boom in this country right now. In the past 2 years, we've had 10.5 million new small business applications. That's a record, but it also means that we have a lot of work to do. And as I said, although the work is phenomenal, we know work remains in closing the capital gaps out there. And despite significant growth in the core lending programs SBA has, many entrepreneurs continue to face challenges in accessing that funding. So again, even with these gaps and with the obstacles business owners must overcome during a pandemic, Black entrepreneurs have shown how resolute and determined they are, and we are committed to continuing to partner and support. Women and people of color continue to start businesses at the highest rates, along with the business start numbers that I gave earlier. And in particular, Black and brown women continue to lead, as they have for the past 10 years, in new business startups. And in 2023, as we are now several months into the year, the SBA's top focus remains helping small businesses overcome the capital challenges, especially startups and small disadvantaged businesses of all ages. So at the SBA, we are dedicated to the success of Black-owned small businesses across the nation and are here to help your businesses thrive. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike. That was really insightful and a great start to kind of where we're going to go. I already have questions popping up that I'm really excited to hear from both Brad and LaKosha as they kind of cover those. And now I will open the floor to Brad to tell us a little bit more about the SBA and your resources.
Excellent. Thank you. I'm going to attempt to share my screen to bring up some slides. All right. So far, so good here. Excellent. Oop. All right. So good afternoon. Thank you, Danielle, for the introduction. And Mike, thank you very much for joining us and your words about Black History Month. The small business community in the U.S. is the backbone of our economy. And we couldn't do it without the Black and brown entrepreneurs that are coming and helping out here in Maine. I'm actually down in Boston right now, but in Maine, to be able to help strengthen and grow our economy. There's been a upsurge of new Mainers, people moving into Maine from the pandemic that's caused people to move up and just get away from the bigger cities, which has been great. We need, a few more people to help start businesses, a few more workers and such like that. And it's brought more small businesses in. And the Black small business community, since it is growing and many people don't know that there's the assistance out there, the SBA is here to assist. So I cover York and Cumberland County for the SBA Maine District Office. I'm also the District International Trade Officer. I'm also the Thrive Emerging Leaders Program Manager and the Veteran Business Development Officer for Southern Maine. So a few more points on the SBA. The U.S. Small Business Administration is a federal agency enacted in 1953. The cornerstones of our agency are counseling, capital, contracting, and disaster assistance. So disaster assistance is probably the most notable over the last few years with COVID-19, the recovery assistance through the Paycheck Protection Program, the EIDL loans. Just launched last week, the My SBA portal is now live. So those of you that went through the pandemic and got the EIDL loan, or you're looking to look at any of the other SBA loans you have, there's a new portal out there that's so much easier to use once you get access to it, which I've been helping a few people get logged in and get into it. It's been a little bit of a challenge as it's new, but once you get in, it's a great way to just see all of your SBA loans, EIDL loans, 7As, 504s, all those different types of SBA loans that you may have. It's a great place to see all of your information and make payments as needed through that for those EIDL loans as well. is also going to be used for vet cert and other government contracting certifications that you can do, as well as being in the 8A program or being a woman-owned business and stuff. You're going to start being able to get your certifications right through that one portal, which is really amazing and makes things much more easier. So outside of the pandemic relief efforts, SBA is on the ground with FEMA and physical disaster areas after floods, fires, hurricanes, etc. We are there to assist businesses, homeowners, and renters recover from that disaster, provided there's a disaster declaration. These disaster loans that we do help cover the gap between recovery costs and what your insurance is paid out. So I mentioned businesses. There's a business side of recovering from a disaster, such as those physical ones, and then there's a mortgage side, or if you're a renter or you have a home and you get damages, you file your claim through your insurance, and then if you still haven't been able to fully recover from that disaster, then we can come in and provide a low interest disaster loan to help you fully recover from that. So next slide here. The next one I'm talking about is government contracting, or selling to the government. It can be very intimidating with all the rules and regulations. The SBA and partners like the Apex Accelerators, are also known as PTAC, Procurement Technical Procurement Technical Assistance Centers. They can help you understand and take advantage of this very valuable market. The U.S. government is the world's largest purchaser, buying everything from #2 pencils to Tomahawk missiles. If it's being sold, there is a good chance the government has or is buying. The SBA works with federal agencies to award at least 23% of all prime contract dollars each year to small businesses that are certified with the SBA's contract programs. After the pandemic, several businesses were looking for new markets because the typical markets they had prior to the pandemic may have slowed down or went away altogether. So businesses are struggling to find a new place to sell their product or service to. And the government could be a very good place to be able to do that. These are some of the different certifications that you can get to be able to open more doors to sell your product or service to the federal government. And like selling to the government, there's a lot of intimidation in exporting. So it's a big world out there. There's language barriers. There's not knowing where in the world to start to sell your product outside of the United States. Currency conversions, how do I get paid? All viable concerns. The SBA and partners like the Maine International Trade Center and the Maine Small Business Development Center can assist you in starting and growing your export venture. The SBA State Trade Expansion Program, or STEP, is a grant program where you can get up to $20,000 per year. These funds must be used towards your exporting venture. Some examples are getting to and setting up at an expo in Germany to be able to have your product right there in front of your potential buyers, or even upgrade your website so that it's in different languages. You can accept different currencies and such like that. There are many ways to use these funds, but they must be connected to exporting. On this slide here, you'll see the Maine International Trade Center.com is our organization that is administering the STEP program in Maine. So if you are looking to obtain these grant funds to be able to expand or grow your export venture, then please reach directly out to Mitzi. As I mentioned, I am the International Trade Officer for the state of Maine. So you can reach out to me and I'll help talk you through some things and get you connected with them as well, if that's something that you're looking into. So the SBA's role in commercial financing is to help those who aren't able to obtain financing otherwise. So it takes money to make money in business. Outside disaster, the SBA doesn't lend money directly. However, we can provide guarantees to lenders so they are able to turn a denial into an approval. Most banks and several credit unions in Maine are SBA authorized lenders. There are also a few non-bank lenders with the authority to use SBA guarantees. And those funds can be used for just about anything. They can help you launch, grow, repair, buy equipment, supplies, do renovations, just about anything that you need for your business, and a guarantee from the SBA can be used. So I already kind of experienced this slide. This is a little video. We weren't able to get it to play properly with audio and everything, so I'll just end up skipping it. But what that talks about, just real quick, is the lender match program through the SBA. And if you don't have a lender that you work with already, you're fairly new, and you kind of feel that you wouldn't get financing due to lack of collateral or lack of cash injection, or there's some credit history issues, something like that, and you don't know where to go to find a lender that would already be doing SBA lending, you can go through the SBA lender match tool, which sba.gov/lender match. You can also contact me for just about anything that I'm covering, and then also go to our website as well. But this is a good way to be connected to lenders, not necessarily in your area. It could be a lender in California or somewhere else that has their parameters set to help businesses in Maine using SBA loans. So if you don't have a banker, or you are looking to switch banks and you want to find one that is an SBA lender, please feel free to use the lender match tool. Keep in mind that it's not a phishing tool, so you need to be ready to apply for a loan. You'll go in, you'll put in some information as far as what type of business you have, how much you need, how are you going to pay it back, do you have a business plan, do you cash flow, things like that. There's no personal information in this because it's just a way of connecting you to a lender. The lenders on the back side of that, they see that information, they're going, yeah, this is something that we're trying to do. It's in our area that we're looking to fund to. It's in industries that they're trying to do. They have a business plan, they cash flow, or they plan to cash flow because it's a start business, so they're not cash flowing yet. They'll respond with a yes or a no. If they say yes, that opens up the doors of communication between the two of you, so you can move forward and start actually applying for that loan. So on this slide here, we talked about the SBA micro lenders. If you still aren't very bankable because your credit history is pretty bad, for example, then you can go to an SBA micro lender. They can lend between $500 and $50,000, and it's really for those high risk borrowers. They're not quite bankable yet, but with the micro loans, they can help rebuild that credit history. And there's mandatory training that comes with using a micro lender as well that just helps you become more bankable. So you go through this with them and you rebuild your credit. You can get the funds you need for your business at the same time. And then down the road, you'll be able to go back to your bank or those larger community banks and nationwide banks to get that bigger loan, because then you'll have built up and become bankable. So those are the 5 micro lenders that are here in Maine. And then we also have the resource partner network. So that talks about the different counselors and advisors that go through 4 different resource partners, and they're nationwide, but they're all right here in Maine as well. And that's the Women's Business Center, the SCORE chapters, the Small Business Development Centers, and the VBOC, the Veteran Business Outreach Center as well. All of them provide free business advising and mentorship. They have their different specialities for different demographics, different focuses. For example, the Women's Business Center has a lot on marketing right now, I believe. They have some different training. And even if you're a male or you don't fit that demographic for a woman-owned small business, you can still go to their workshops and their trainings as well. They won't discriminate that way. You can still go in and get all that great information directly from them. I always suggest go to each of their websites, find out which one, just you feel most comfortable with, request advising, a mentorship, but then use all of them for their workshops and webinars that are also primarily free. The only workshop that I know of that you have to pay for is QuickBooks, where SCORE brings in someone from QuickBooks to provide that training. So there is a small fee for that, but it's well worth it. Of course, if you ever worked with QuickBooks, it's a great course to go through. They have desktop version and the web version and stuff too. But that's the only one that I know of that is payment required. So in the beginning, I talked about being the Thrive Emerging Leaders program manager. So I want to talk a little bit about this too, because we're going to start recruiting before too long for the 2023 cohort. So Thrive is a 6-month executive level series intended to give ambitious small business leaders a challenging opportunity to accelerate their growth through targeted training led by motivated leaders in small business development. So there's minimum requirements to it. At least 250,000 in annual revenue, at least 3 years in business, in operation in that business, and at least one other employee, preferably a couple of others. That way you're able to delegate some of your responsibilities as the owner, and wearing all those different hats, delegate some of that to your employees so that you can step back and work on your business, not opposed to it so much in your business, because that can be very overwhelming. You don't have the time to really focus on your business if you're in it and grinding away every single day. So as I said, we'll start recruiting for that. It is a hybrid type of platform. So there's an online curriculum, and then there is also in-person discussion groups and trainings with a coach as well, which I'll also be at to help moderate and make sure everything is flowing well. We're looking at holding those in-person sessions at Tech Place in Brunswick, which is fairly well located for people even farther down in York County to commute up and go to those meetings. These are the contacts for the SBA Maine District Office. We have 6 people that cover the entire state, which is pretty huge. Myself, I cover York and Cumberland County, a relatively small area, but it is also one of the higher economic areas in the state. Diane Sturgeon is our district director. Tim Hobbs is our deputy. They're both located in Augusta, along with Bill Card and Keith Lind. Bill is the economic development specialist. He kind of covers the central part of the state. Keith Lind is our public affairs specialist. He does all of our email updates. He does our administrative stuff as well for internal use. And then Jim Pino, he is my counterpart, senior area manager for Northern Maine, covering Bangor North. Plus, he also is the government contracting specialist. So if you have questions about government contracting, you can reach out to me. I'll get you in contact with Jim, or you can reach directly out to Jim and he can work with you on that as well. So that concludes my slides. Let me see if I can get back out of this. All right. So I encourage everyone to check out our website. We are a wealth of great information. And at that, I'd like to turn it back over to Danielle. With just one more thing, I'd like to welcome LaKosha myself as well. I met LaKosha at a SCORE Awards. So she was already using the SBA Resource Partners and was getting an award for her small business here in Maine, which is amazing. Congratulations on that as well. But I'll turn it back over to Danielle.
Thank you, Brad. That was a wealth of information and such a great reminder on, all the resources that you do offer and that your partners offer. And it's really interesting that everybody can use those resources within the SBA network, which is something I didn't even know. So thank you so much for that. And I'm going to go into a little bit about BBB and kind of what we are and what we do. And then I'll hand it right over to LaKosha for our most interesting portion of today and hearing about her and her business. But before we dive into that, Better Business Bureau, we have been around for 111 years this year. A lot of people guess that we're a government agency or a private organization, but we are a nonprofit. So we are totally funded by our members, and we work for our members and our consumers. Our goal really is to just educate, and my goal specifically is to educate and remind people that the Better Business Bureau is still around. It's something a lot of people say, oh, my grandfather used to, complain to you or utilize you, was a member with you, but we want to be a part of every generation and remind people what it is that we do. So we are a nonprofit public service organization, which for over 100 years has helped people make smarter decisions and has evolved continuously to meet fast-changing marketplace needs. Saying that, we evolve in, what your old Better Business Bureau vision used to be is totally different than what it is today. We're a mission to be a leader in advancing marketplace trust. BBB encourages and supports best practices by engaging with and educating consumers and businesses. So how do we do all this? It's through our resources mainly. Our free resources is a big part of what we offer. We offer small business free resources. You can go on there. You can check out marketing, HR, how to get an online store, brick and mortar, those kind of things as kind of a place to start when you're looking in your journey. Other things we offer on the business side are free business profiles. So we have over 6 million. It is totally free to register your business with us. You get a page, you can put your business information on it, your website, contact person, hours, all that kind of great stuff. And then you can receive reviews on it as well. And you'll receive a rating through us. Something that kind of sets us aside in the rating world is that we look at the full picture of the business. We look at how many years they've been in business. Are they in good standing with the, state government, federal government? Do they have any, issues out for them? Are they fully licensed in their industry if it's required? What are their complaints? If they have any complaints, how quickly did it take them to respond? And did they get it, a response that satisfies the consumer? And we look at that full big picture, and then we create our rating. Something that we don't do is we don't count reviews into our ratings. You can have those on your business profiles, and we encourage them. But we notice that they tend to be pretty biased. A review, I could say, I went in and my painter came in wearing a red shirt, and I really prefer that painters wear blue shirts. And that's not a fair reflection of the business. And they could say, I give them 1 star, but they did a great job. I just didn't like the shirt they had on. So we don't want that to count towards a business, because that's not reflecting them as, are they doing good business? Is it fair? Is it trustworthy? Is it honest? So we have the reviews for people to utilize and read on the business profile, but it doesn't count towards their rating. We're more worried about if you receive a complaint, how long did it take you to answer? Are you answering in a timely manner? Something that is listening to the consumer and trying to solve that problem. So the big picture. And our business profiles, they help with SEO for a business because they're adding your website to it and they're getting you out there more. So we always recommend that businesses create that free business profile because it's free and it doesn't hurt. Any type of consumer or business can look you up with our on bbb.org, whether they're looking for, I always use a painter, a restaurant, a new clothing boutique. You can search it in your area and get a full list of who's coming up and kind of see who they are as a business. Something further that we offer is membership. I mentioned earlier membership funds, what we do. Businesses can become members with us once they've been in business for a year. You can apply. You do have to go through an application process because we want to make sure if somebody is becoming a member with us and using our seal of trust that I have right up in my background, that we really have our beliefs in them and we're putting our logo behind them. So they go through that process, they submit their application, we review it, our team looks at it, and then approves or denies it based on the business's practices and their track record. So it's kind of a great way, especially as a starting business, to build that credibility. And we're kind of giving you our good reputation to utilize and piggyback off of. Different types of memberships. We have evolved and changed coming out of COVID, our memberships. We used to just have one basic membership that covered all of our benefits. It was priced depending on how many full-time employees you have. We've now changed that to be more inclusive. We do it based off the number of employees you have and what benefits you're going to utilize. So we have 3 different membership offers: BBB Basic, BBB Plus, and BBB Max. So if you don't want to utilize, you're not ready to pay a little bit more and utilize all 40 plus of our membership benefits, and you really just want to utilize the logo and that credibility and a couple of the few basic ones, you can go ahead with BBB, BBB Basic. If you're ready to take that next step as a business and you need us to build your website, your logo, print materials, different things like that, that's BBB Plus, and then BBB Max utilizes all 40 plus of our membership benefits. And with that, you can get, a concierge service. We will help with your social media, Facebook, your Facebook posts, different things like that. So you really get a full inclusive membership with us. For us, we offer different memberships, like I said, to be inclusive completely and to make sure that everybody that would like to be a member and is able to can join us. So if you go right on bbb.org, we have a little calculator on there as well that you can put in which membership you're looking for, how many employees you have, and it'll tell you down to the cent what it will be for you to become a member with us. And we do have payment plans so that anybody that is looking to join, it is accessible for them. Something we offer on the consumer side that is useful for businesses and consumers is our scam tracker and our scam alerts. So if you have been scammed or are looking to see what scams are in your area, you can check them out on bbb.org. And we always recommend that people or businesses check out a business profile before working with them. So that's why I always stress to new businesses to make sure you're listed with us so that people can verify that you're a legitimate business, you are listed with us, and read a little bit more about you. A couple other resources that we offer that I'll hit before I wrap up is we do have our scam alerts that you can sign up for to be alerted to what's newest. And that's helpful for both consumers and businesses because there are so many business scams out there, hiring scams, inventory scams, ordering scams, all those different things that you want to be aware of as they pop up. We have our Speakers Bureau. It is a free Speakers Bureau that's available. Anybody can request it. We can come in and talk on BBB 101, cybersecurity, how to build credibility for your business, and scams and fraud. And then we have our sister organization, which is the Wise Giving Alliance, that is give.org. And they do what we do for businesses, but for charity. So they offer charity reports and charity accreditation. So if you're looking to donate to a new charity or looking for a new resource that's offering grants or anything like that, and you want to check them out, make sure they're legitimate, you can do so on give.org and kind of see what % of money they're giving different places and all different things like that. So that is a brief wrap up of what BBB does offer. We are such an extensive resource because we hit both consumers and businesses. But if anybody has any questions further on that, I will always happy to answer them. And I will give my contact information in the chat for anybody to utilize. But with that, I'm going to open the floor to LaKosha, and I am so excited to hear about you as a small business owner and how you've utilized SBA to kind of start your journey.
Well, hello everyone. So as mentioned, my name is LaKosha Evans. I am the owner of Klassically Kute Designs, kids clothing and accessories boutique. I am located in Biddeford, right on Main Street. So if you're ever in the area and you have little ones, please stop by and check us out. So for me as a small business owner, I have one of the biggest resources that I have utilized with SBA has been the SCORE mentors. Free service, and my mentors, I had two. One is more primary, one is sort of a secondary and a fill-in as needed, but had a different sort of expertise, which really helped. But I have utilized the SCORE mentors, and it has been a huge benefit to have a mentor that is very familiar with the business, this aspect of like the retail sort of side of things. He helped me sort of identify, what it means to create a market. Like what should your market look like, or what sort of market are you targeting? Creating sort of like a character persona in retail. And, these are things that people don't necessarily think about when, starting a business. Okay, yeah, they may identify a target market, but creating a persona and what you anticipate that target, that targeted market should look like. My mentor actually, brought up a great point and said, you need to create personas, LaKosha. The people that you're targeting, what do you expect them to be like? What are your ideal customers? And I feel that has helped me a lot sort of narrow down who my true customer base has been, and continues to be. Aside from the SCORE mentors, I have utilized some of the other SBA related resources. So resources related to like initially starting a business, like, okay, how do I go about really launching? I know I've had the idea, but what do I need to do to sort of bring this to light, right? So utilizing the resources that are available for free on the SBA website, as well as BBB. They have some amazing resources as well when you're looking and wanting to start that, entrepreneurial journey. And is it a challenge owning a business and having a business? Yes, it certainly can be. But when you have some amazing resources that you can utilize to sort of help you on the journey, it does make things a little less hectic for you. If I could recommend anything to any new business owner that's out there, it would be if you're looking for an advisor, someone to sort of help you on your journey, utilize the SCORE mentors. They are free. They are all volunteers. Depending on the sort of business that you may have, they will try to match you with the mentor that has sort of an expertise or knowledge in that area. And that is such a huge benefit, to have someone that's been there, done that, and can help you grow and develop as well as a business owner. Aside from the SCORE mentors, and utilizing some of the other SBA related resources, there's resources available, both SBA as well as BBB, where you can, if you need assistance with, hey, how do I, create my business plan? There's templates available. There's, they sort of walk you through the steps on, how to create a business plan. There's the lengthy business plans, and then there's like the one pagers. Like if you're just sort of looking to to have sort of a quick impact, statement or business plan ready, to present to someone, and you just need like a quick one pager. Like those are resources that are available, and it's all for free. You just have to be willing to sort of put in the legwork, of course, to do some of the things that are posted, but it is there as a resource. There are courses and things that you can sign up for and take as well. A lot of the courses, or should I say more like webinars, they are free of charge. And they've been a huge resource, like, how to handle my balance sheet. What should, what's another one that I took? I'm sorry, I'm trying to think offhand, like another course that I took, just to sit in and sort of marketing. Like if you're trying to figure out marketing and how to, what should marketing look like for you? What are some avenues you can use when it comes to marketing? These are all resources that are available, and it's there. It's free. I know as a small business owner just starting out, money is always a factor. You're like, oh gosh, I can't afford to pay, pay all this money to, keep shelling out money. It's like you're just getting started. Like, what are you supposed to do if you're constantly shelling out money, left and right? And so to have free resources and tools available it's a huge plus and a huge benefit. So if there's anyone out there that is just looking to get started, they're not really sure what to do, where to go, start with the SBA website, start with the BBB website. Amazing tools are there and ready to use. You have people that you can reach out to if it's something that you're just not quite understanding. And as a business owner myself, by no means do I consider myself an expert in the area, because I still have a lot to learn. I've been in business almost coming up on 3 years in total. So I did launch my business during COVID. Probably crazy, right? To launch a business during COVID. I initially started online, and As you can see in my background, I have a storefront now. And I opened my storefront in Biddeford in 2021, so February of 2021. So yeah, it has been an amazing journey, stressful journey, yes, at times, but definitely an amazing journey. And just knowing that I have some amazing resources available and that have been there to sort of help me through has been a huge plus and a benefit to me as well.
I have a couple questions coming in for you, LaKosha, so I'd love to give those to you. One of them was, how did you learn about the SCORE mentoring? You know, what brought you into the SBA, the SCORE world? Did someone point you that direction, or did you just come upon it?
So for me, I actually, while sort of researching, I consider myself like a Google queen. I Google everything, okay? And for starting a business, it was one of those things like, okay, I want to start a business. Where do I, you know, what are the first steps in starting this business? And initially, you know, starting a business in my local town and where I lived, it was, I went to their website to sort of look at, okay, how do I start a business in, you know, in my city? Like, how do I, you know, what do I do? What do I need to do to get started? And believe it or not, their website typically will have the resources available to say, okay, SBA is a huge resource. You know, look at the SBA piece. So, you know, led me to the SBA website. And I want to say I reached out because, again, this was during COVID. So there were a lot of people working from home, not really in the offices. You couldn't really get out and get into offices to meet with people because of COVID. And I want to say I made a phone call. It took a while for me to finally get through because, hey, we were in COVID. It was a lot happening at that time. And finally, I managed to speak with someone, and they, you know, suggested with my needs and the things that I was, you know, that I was looking for at that time with getting started. Have you considered a SCORE mentor? And I said, I have no idea what that is. And yeah, at the time, I had no clue. And they said, well, and you know, they explained it. They said, I said, oh gosh, if this is going to cost, like, I'm just getting started. Like, I don't have money to pay anyone to consult with me right now. Like, I just don't have it. And they were like, no, it's free. I said, what's the catch? Like, what's the catch? And they said, there's no catch. It's a free resource tool for you, right? It's there for you. You know, they asked me some questions about, you know, the business in general, like, okay, what are you looking to do? Sort of what are your overarching goals? And then they put me in touch with the SCORE chapter. And from there, the SCORE chapters referred me to my first mentor, Joe, and he was amazing. He literally, we via Zoom, we met multiple times during the start of my business. Like, it was one of those things. We're checking in probably once every other week, and he always made time. You know, if something came up, he always made sure to reach out and say, okay, something did come up, can we reschedule? But I do want to touch base with you this week. He made it a habit to be consistent with checking in with me to see how things are going. And that was a huge benefit for me as well.
That's excellent. And you said the word consulting because it's a consulting service, and it's basically a free consulting service having a mentor, because they're really there to guide you on your journey and even just be a sounding board half the time, because it can be really isolating and hard to start as a small business or a new business in general, because there's so many resources out there. But figuring out which one's going to work best for you and how to utilize what's best for your business, it's so excellent to have that mentor to turn to and basically have as a consultant on hand. How did you get into your brick and mortar store? What brought you there?
Well, funny story. Selling children's clothing online. It can quickly, because I'm not what's referred to as drop shipping is a huge thing now, where people don't carry the inventory. They just utilize other resources to purchase and then ship those items to customers. For me, I carry inventory because I am a stickler for, I like to inspect the pieces before I send them to anyone. If I am indeed sending something out, even for the stuff that I carry in store, it's still one of those things. I like to personally inspect the pieces that I have to ensure that, you know, my customers are getting what they're paying for, right? So the inventory was getting out of control. It was literally taking over my home. And initially it was, okay, I'll just, you know, I'll get a storage unit and we'll just put it in a storage unit, right?
Yeah.
I'll just use a storage unit. And then it was suggested, they're like, well, have you considered a brick and mortar? Like, have you considered opening a store? And I said, well, I don't know if I have enough inventory for a store. In my mind, I was thinking such a broad, you know, like this huge store. I just, in my mind, I said, I don't have enough for that kind of store. And they said, no, LaKosha, you just seriously, have you thought of a store? It doesn't have to be a big store. It could be a store that's like, you know, 1,000 square feet, you know, square feet or whatnot. And you'd be good to go. Like, look at all this stuff you have. I'm pretty sure you could fill a store. I said, well, I don't know. And finally, I started driving around. So you know, my local communities, driving around, and, you know, it was really sad to see so many storefronts that were available for lease because COVID put a lot of people out of business. And, you know, that was a fear. And I said, well, gosh, should I really consider even launching the storefront during COVID? Like, no one's shopping, you know, outside their computers right now. You know, they're not out. So how is this really going to work for me? And let's just say I took a leap of faith. I managed to find a location in Biddeford, my first location in Biddeford, and one of very few stores at the time that was open in the area, and went in, did some work, opened up the store shortly thereafter. And and I've been on Main Street ever since.
That's excellent. It's so nice that, I mean, you've clearly had such a journey starting a business in COVID and then coming out of COVID slightly, you're opening that brick and mortar. Are you seeing more people wanting to come out and shop in store now that we're kind of coming out of quarantine and all those kind of things?
More people are out and about. Do they necessarily? With retail, it's, and this is true story, you know, with retail, it's one of those things that it's a seasonal sort of thing. So there are some seasons when you are just thriving and you're doing so well, and there are other seasons where not so much. And it doesn't matter what sort of clothing you sell or what sort of typically with clothing anyways, what sort of clothing you sell, that doesn't necessarily matter. It's just about it's about the season. We find, you know, during winter months, it can be a lot slower because who wants to go out in the snow? One of the best things that people do when they are out in the winter, people have to eat. So that is, you know, that's always a great thing to get into because people are eating no matter what. But clothes shopping, not so much. It's really more of those things during the colder months or certain seasons where people are a little less open to buying. But as it warms up or before school starts or other seasons of the year, it is boom, boom, boom. People are out and about. They're shopping more frequently. So those are things that people have to be prepared for. And that's something that I never thought about in the beginning was, hey, retail, you know, especially retail clothing, you know, the apparel business can be very seasonal. I didn't necessarily think about that part. And it has been an ongoing journey. Really learning what that looks like. And now I feel that I have a better grasp of, you know, what that means for me and my business as a children's clothing store compared to, let's say, someone that maybe sells women's clothing or clothing for men, or maybe they have a mix. So for me, because I only focus on kids clothing, although I have had adults come in and do you have this in my size? I wish I could tell them yes, but no, I only carry children's clothing. So it is a challenge at times, but now that I've been in this for a few years and I'm learning, I'm not alone. This is a norm. It's not an isolated thing where it's just, oh gosh, it's just my store suffering during certain seasons. No, it is like a nationwide thing. So people must be prepared for that if they're looking at going into this sort of retail line of work. Just sort of expect that there may be seasons. where it may be slower than what you're used to, but look at that as a time to focus on getting your inventory up to date. Like you work on other aspects of your business. How can I better, market with social media? Like where are some different avenues with that? Like you find another focus during those slower peaks. And when it picks up, and it can ramp up business during like the faster peak months.
Absolutely. And that's such a great point to, hit on, is what you've learned in your journey and how to survive those seasons. It's such great insight because, like you said, you didn't even think about that. You just think about, the day-to-day. You kind of forget, the journey that you're going to go through as different seasons come through, different years come through, different parts of that. And it looks like Brad had something to add.
Yeah, I was just going to ask too, or make the suggestion. You could partner with the seamstress that's right next door to your shop. When somebody says, "Hey, do you have this in my size?" You'd be like, "No," but you can go over and see the lady next door. Maybe she can make it for you.
Yes. So believe it or not, Brad, we do speak a lot. She's a friend of mine now. We talk a lot. She's actually one of my customers. She has little girls of her own, and her daughters have absolutely fallen in love with my clothing. She's like, I could make some things, but they love to come over and shop. So we do speak a lot. And I know when I have customers coming in and they're looking for something in particular, I know, hey, I can direct them to my neighbor, because perhaps this is something, if they need a customized dress, because maybe, their little girl is having this amazing princess themed birthday party and they want a custom princess dress. She is an amazing seamstress, and I happily direct them her way. And same with, I have a women's clothing boutique on the other side of me. And so as a parent is in shopping for their little girl, especially a mom, I'll direct her over to my neighbor and say, hey, have you checked out the women's clothing boutique next door? If you're looking for something for yourself, she has a ton of things to offer. So what I have found with the small business community, especially in Biddeford, we all try to help each other, which is really good. We all understand the highs and lows of being a small business owner, and what that looks like from different perspectives. And so we do try to be very supportive. We try to do community related events together. And I only see that getting better. So anytime there's something happening in the community, we all do try to get together and say, hey, we just recently had for instance, a poker crawl, where you go and you support the small businesses, and every business that participated, if a customer spends at least $10 or more, they get to pull a card from a deck. And your goal is to sort of try to come up with a great poker hand, right, to win prizes. So it's always fun to get people out in the community and shopping and supporting the small businesses. So that's just one of the many things that, we have done within, Biddeford, within our immediate community, to try to help support and bring in more small businesses, because, hey, the more small businesses there are, the better I think will be. So if you haven't been to Biddeford lately, you have got to get down to Main Street. There's a ton of new businesses that are out. Biddeford the goal is to help us thrive more than perhaps where we were years ago. So much, much better. I've had people tell me they haven't been down in the area in a long time. They come down and they're pleasantly surprised.
That
Very
collaboration that you hit on is exactly what we need for the small businesses. And I think it just offers you each so much growth when you're connected and, working towards your community. You obviously have such a passion for Biddeford and creating a thriving business, small business world, and a Main Street. Brad, for somebody looking to get started up, do you have best advice for, how to navigate all the resources that are offered?
In a way, yes. I like to be that first point of contact, basically, for anybody that's in my area or anybody that's in Maine or looking to start a business anywhere. Really, reach out to your local SBA district office. They can be that perfect person to talk to. Let them know what you're trying to do, and they can say, okay, let's connect you over to SCORE. Let's connect you over to the Maine International Trade Center, or whatever that resource would be, and help them just along the way. the SBA that I also didn't mention, we also do startup classes. That is a great way to give you enough information in your head to take that to the resource partner, talk to your advisor, puts those questions that you've had just all over the place, formulate a little bit better, so you have that first meeting together a little bit more prepared, which is good. And I know one of our other resource partners likes to point out that you could say free, but it's also prepaid. The taxes fund the SBA, so we in turn partially fund our resource partners to be able to provide those free services, that the advising and mentorship for free. So it is prepaid. You've already paid for it. Take advantage of it, as LaKosha has done. I had another question for LaKosha real quick, if we have time.
Yeah.
So you're a military spouse. Your husband was, or is he still in the Air Force?
No, he actually retired last April. So we're coming up on 1 year after.
Excellent.
After
Congratulations.
yes.
Congratulations
Thank you.
to
It's been a
him.
long journey.
To you as well. Thank you very much. I was in the Army myself and retired out. I was married in the Army, and I understand what you've gone through as a military spouse is also pretty difficult. So thank you for sticking with him and the family and everything that you had to endure through that. So it sounds like that's great, because now you're going to be in Biddeford for an unforeseen time and not up and moving in a couple more years or something. So that's great that we'll have you around. The question is, as a Black female-owned business starting up in Maine, which is primarily white, to say, right? Were you faced with any diversity or hardships due to that when you were trying to start up?
Yes, unfortunately, it's one of those things. When you're wanting to start a business, there's always a challenge of starting a business anyhow, especially if it's your first business. It's really hard to get funding when you're just starting out, right? So for me, that was one of the biggest challenges that I had, was trying to obtain any sort of funding to help me get started. So I bootstrapped, which is not the best way to go for everyone. So I worked a full-time 40 to 50 hour a week job, opened my boutique only on the weekends, and I bootstrapped my business. And honestly, to this day, I still continue to do so, which in a sense, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because I don't owe anyone anything. But at the same time, it would have been nice to possibly have the resources, or have had the resources when it came to the funding piece. And it's just one of those things. It was always a challenge. Oh, you have to be in business for at least a year. You're like, well, I just started. Like, when you say it's a loan for a startup, like, my thought when I first got started was, startup means I'm just getting started and should be able to obtain funding. No, startup is in a lot of settings is, oh, we need you to be in business for at least a year, sometimes 2, sometimes 3, before you can get the funding that you're ultimately seeking. So that was a huge challenge for me. But what I did do, and I attempted to apply for grants and so forth, but grants are another thing. They usually focus more on like not-for-profits, for the grant funding piece. So even grants were sort of a challenge. But I did come across, as a Black business owner, there were some other resources that were brought to my attention that I did not know about initially. So Black-owned Maine is a huge resource as well for Black-owned businesses. They also, at one point, I'm not sure if they're still providing it or not, because they are a nonprofit as well. And so in order for them to help fund or help provide grants, they have to also still have people that are willing to donate to them as well. Initially, they helped me with, it was a small grant just to maybe buy something that I ultimately needed for my business. They have provided me with free marketing, which was amazing. They paid for newspaper advertisements for me. On more than one occasion. They paid for a like a photo shoot, which was ultimately going to be used for, I want to say like an ad or something. I don't know if it was going to be on TV or maybe just social media based, but that helped me significantly. I've also utilized resources with the Heart of Biddeford as well. And, you know, they've been a huge part of my success, or what, I don't necessarily say success, but they've been a huge part of my business thus far. So aside from, you know, SBA, you know, we have the BBB in Biddeford in the Saco area. There's Heart of Biddeford. If you are a Black-owned business and you need a resource, Black-owned Maine can be another resource tool as well. Your local chamber of commerce can be another resource tool. If you pay for the membership, which, you know, once a year you're paying for a membership, it's not necessary. It's worth the investment, you know, to also be opened up to other resource tools that they may have available. So, I mean, I have, you know, the bootstrapping piece. Yeah, it's not necessarily the way that I would suggest anyone go, unless you're really looking to say, you know what, I don't want to owe anyone anything. I didn't have the money, because during COVID, not being able to find a job initially, that was stressful. So I said, gosh, you know, maybe it is really time that I focus on a business. I have wanted a business for many years. And that's what really, I said, you know, maybe this is time. This has to be time. I'm going to take a leap of faith. And that's what I did. And, you know, I'm still here today to say, hey, it's been a journey. It has been a journey. I work in some cases, I think, more with my own business than I did working in the corporate world. But it's all for a reason, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Excellent. Thank you. To that hardship that you faced with finding access to capital, basically, when you're starting, that's one of the things the SBA also does through lending partners, is having the guarantees for those who are starting the business, and it's risky. So we help take the risk out of it for those lenders, so they're able to still fund those loans, or possibly fund those loans by using an SBA guarantee. So down the road, if you're looking to get some additional funding or a line of credit or something like that, I'd love to sit down with you and talk more about the possibility of working with an SBA lender to help make that happen for you as well, so that you can avoid any issues down the road as well. And that goes with anybody else that's watching this recording later or currently on. The SBA is here to assist you. If you're having issues, no matter what your demographics are, if you're having issues within your business, getting started or trying to exit your business even, let us know. We'll find ways to help you. We have different programs and services. LaKosha is a fine example of not only bootstrapping, because that's something you really got to do when you start. I don't care who you are. When you're starting, you got to bootstrap. There's no way around it. You have to. Otherwise, it's very hard to even get started. But reach out to us. We're here to assist you as much as we possibly can. Danielle, is this going to be, you're recording it, so I'm sure you'll have a link for us to share?
Absolutely, yes. So everybody, we are recording this, so it'll be available on the BBB's Vimeo and YouTube, and I will also share it with both of you to put on your social media channels, your personal channels, so that everyone can find it, and we'll share it across the Better Business Bureau social media, which I put in the chat. It's at BBB_Maine. So you'll be able to utilize this recording. And I just want to thank you both so much for hopping on. I think the biggest takeaway from today, and just like you said, Brad, is the collaboration. You're offering it to LaKosha. LaKosha, you're collaborating with the local businesses. It's how we share our resources and how we continue to educate ourselves and others on what is available out there and where we turn when we need, you know, lending, when we need to turn to the BBB to get our business profile up, to make sure we don't have complaints, anything like that. So I really appreciate both your time and expertise in sharing it with us today. I know I have taken so much away. I always learn so much when I do these webinars, and I really enjoy it. And if anybody would like to watch the recording or share it with friends, it will be available. It'll probably take about 1 day to get it up, and it'll be ready to rock and roll.
And I'll also be sharing it on my LinkedIn page, which I shared in the chat also. So feel free to follow my personal LinkedIn. It's not an SBA LinkedIn page. But I like to share all our SBA stuff right there on my LinkedIn. So feel free to follow me there too.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And thank you again, LaKosha. Your insight and hearing about your business was really incredible. So I appreciate you taking the time to join Brad and I today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Anytime. All right, guys, enjoy. I hope you're not getting too much snow up there, and have a fantastic rest of your day.
You too.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.